and welcome everyone on this beautiful Thursday. At least where I am, it's beautiful. We are in the middle of summer. It is truly great. But what is not so great, as you all probably know, is our favorite stock, which is Tesla. And I just thought we have to address what happened over the last 5 days. It's a pretty bad disaster for everyone who is bullish on the stock, believes in Cybercab, and also does a little bit of trading. For everyone who is just a fundamental investor, a long-term holder, there is nothing to see here. No one cares. This is a ridiculous dip, easy to buy. For those of us who try to generate alpha, who are trying to squeeze a little bit out more of that lemon and not just buy and hold, these are dark days. Because what happened in the last 5 days threw me off a little bit, to be totally frank. Back here on Friday, I was totally prepared, making the right move. And quite frankly, I was preparing for this thing to bleed lower. So when you look at last Friday, this is actually not so surprising where we ended up now. I said, yeah, we are going to bleed a little lower. And because we are waiting for Cybercab and something needs to happen. And if nothing happens, what are you going to do? The market has lost its patience with Tesla. And so we are sliding a little bit more down, despite crazy fundamental improvements that we will go into in this video or in this live stream in a second. But what threw me off is, of course, on Monday, that crazy rally. Because it was indeed a crazy rally what happened on Monday. The entire market was down. And suddenly Tesla showed tremendous strength, while SpaceX was dropping like a stone, 16%. So I thought maybe we are seeing finally some recalibration into Tesla. And that was not good because I reshifted my position to be a little bit more bullish and a little defensive. And then next thing happened, an absolute rug pull, brutal rug pull on Tuesday that really was bad. Right? Tesla dropped like a stone with absolutely no news other than this fake little accident news, which was I addressed in a video before. I mean, it's hard to believe that that was the reason. So I don't know exactly what's going on here. This stock is very hard to trade right now, easy to invest, hard to trade. It has probably on a meta level something to do with SpaceX, something to do with liquidity being pushed around. So we see this very erratic movement of Tesla, unusual in my opinion. I don't normally see that. Normally there is some kind of logic connection or pseudo logic connection for the stock moves. This is a little weird and aggressive here, these moves, and they make no sense. So I think it gives us a little bit of a hint that there is some distortion in the market going on. Not manipulation, by the way, very important difference. Distortion just means that the cash is being pulled aggressively out of the stock or pushed aggressively into the stock in a non-organic way, maybe because of SpaceX, maybe because of a reshifting in the market. We see also a lot of things happening in the rest of the market. For example, we saw Google drop recently quite a lot. Look at this, Google Alphabet. Also like a stone, very surprising. There was not a good reason for that. And of course, we saw Micron Technologies being pushed around like a crazy person. Today up 15%, 150 billion roughly. A little bit more than 150 billion, because obviously they blew earnings out of the water, had tremendous earnings that should in theory reinvigorate the AI trade, but it does not for some reason. Look at Amazon, for example. Amazon is totally down today. Again, no reason for that. Apple is getting destroyed. That is mostly because Jeff Lutz actually posted some things about that. Apple announced that they're increasing prices without delivering any added benefit to anyone. So Apple not doing well. I think there's not too much signal for the market in here. Apple just losing out a little bit. But one of my favorites, Nvidia, also down today for no good reason. Why is Nvidia down? When Micron blows things out of the water, showing that there is an absolute long-term bull cycle on memory, which means the AI play is absolutely active and fully effective. So little hard to say what's going on here. we also see certain sectors. There's a sector rotation going on. I'm still trading a lot of biotech or diagnostic stocks, Tempus, Personalis, and some other stocks, Garden Health. And they are absolutely up like crazy. They're all 10% up for no reason. So there's a rotation out, a little bit out of AI for some reason that makes no sense, into biotech and some other stuff. So these are all market gyrations that are important to keep an eye on while we talk about Tesla. We also see that oil, for example, is totally down. And oil, so Iran was over, as I said, for a long time, that there was no chance of this thing escalating. There was a forcing function on the United States to get out of this. And so oil today is a little up, but it's now at $70, right? It's $70, so what is even the problem? Everything should be pretty good, but it's not for Tesla. So what do we do now? What do we do? When we look at this chart, we are not where I was predicting. We are over $100 below what I was predicting end of the month. The month is not over yet. We have one more weekend to go. I feel like, a World Cup commentator. Like we have still 2 minutes in the game. Yeah, we are behind 10 goals, but we could score 10 goals in 10 minutes. Who knows? But we have the weekend. Cybercabs are literally exploding in numbers all over the place, which makes this even more absurd, the situation. So we have 1 week to go to the end of June. We can obviously get to 490 by end of the June, no problem. All we need to see is 100 Cybercabs in the wild, but obviously the window is now really closing on that for this month, of course. But when we look at what's happening, here is, for example, Joe Tegmeyer. I will talk about this for a little bit, and then I will show you a chart that I found very helpful, a technical analysis, which we normally don't do, but by Lord Pretty Flacco, maybe you know him. He's a smart cookie, can be very mean on X, but better smart and mean than dumb and nice. So we will look at the chart, but first let's look at Cybercab. That was from yesterday. Joe Tegmeyer posting this. And it's absolutely ridiculous. We see these Cybercabs coming out of Giga, Texas at enormous numbers, as you will see in a second. We see enormous numbers of Cybercabs rolling off the production line. And no one seems to care, but I do care. Because as you know, I am of the conviction that this can't go on forever. We can't forever have the stock falling while we're actually scaling the business up like crazy. And you know that I think we should be at 490 at this point, and there will be an absolute forced run of the stock once this becomes a little bit more visible and real for everyone, not just for us over here. So this thing drives around. Cybercab, nice. Fix this music. Okay, Cybercab, find your friends. Cybercab driving around, finding its parking spot, place in the world. I hope it has a different place in the world. It should be transporting passengers soon. But for now, it's driving here to its little tent. There you see already some sitting, but I will show you a photo that will blow your mind unless you already saw it on X. So now it's parking. Very nice. Thank you. Enough music. Let's go to this one. I have to show you this one. Look at this. Like, what the hell is even happening? Look at this. Like the people saying, oh, forget it. Elon was wrong again. And it's not happening. It's too late. They will never get to full self-driving. Okay. What do you guys think is this? These are Cybercabs. These are cars that literally make no sense to exist if there wouldn't be FSD that works. These cars are literally like burning a pile of cash, hundreds of millions of dollars, just the ones that are sitting there. I don't know, tens of millions. Burning that cash because these cars cannot be sold. They cannot be intelligently, like effectively driven. These cars have only one purpose, and if they would not meet that purpose, they are a complete waste of money. And that purpose is commercial robotaxi operations. Now, some people say, oh, we need hundreds of them for testing reasons or something, thousands of them. I don't buy it, to be totally frank. You do not need thousands of cybercabs for testing. That is so ridiculous, that idea. You might need a dozen or 2 dozen. You don't even need hundreds for testing. We already have, in my calculation, we already have over 1,000. I'm very sure we already have over 1,000 cybercabs produced. I mean, just here you see over 100 sitting around in the parking lot in Austin, Texas Gigafactory. You saw 50 in Houston. We now see over 50 in Dallas. We have some, no one knows how many, in LA. We have some in Phoenix. We have some and a lot in the Bay Area. So you already have visual contact of hundreds and hundreds. And when I just count the production, we have over 1,000 out and very likely exceed 1,000 production just in July, which means end of July we have 2,000 cybercabs. Like, really, we believe they're just stacking them, and then they have 4,000 and then 8,000, and they're not going to do anything with it, and they're manufacturing them like crazy while not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So they're just crazy people. So the finance department, the operation and manufacturing departments of Tesla, they're just crazy people. They just want to churn out cybercabs like crazy. I just don't think so. I think that thesis doesn't hold up. And I know it's dangerous, especially with the stock dropping, especially if we don't know where this is going. If Tesla keeps hovering around here at 370, it's just a question of time before we get hit by some bad market situation. And then, of course, it's the end, short term. So it's a little bit playing with fire. I understand it, having this conviction, and I definitely got hurt in June. But we need to stay rational. Do we really think this can go on and on and on without anything happening? Do we really believe that the people, for example, who have the theory that we have to wait until version 15 before we start seeing anything related to Cybercab, and version 15 probably in October, November, December? Do we really think at that manufacturing ramp that we are experiencing here that this can be true? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And you know who also doesn't think so? Who provided some very good technical analysis. I'm not saying that he's right. He's not even saying he's right. He's just sharing his ideas publicly. That is Lord Pretty Flacco. So I don't know who knows Flacco. I think Flacco is smart. I know some people don't like him because Flacco tends to be a little mean to people. Bad Flacco, don't be mean. But as I said, rather mean and smart than nice and dumb. So here is what Lord Pretty Flacco says. He has a free post for all. He's going to post this in the subs only, but he said it might help cheer some folks up. Well, you cheer me up if you're right. If you're wrong, you didn't cheer me up. But let's see what the Lord says. This is for the Tesla Bulls. Weekly chart, okay? Here. How do I do this? I can show you the chart and at the same time read it. If I split my screen, let's do that. That's a little better. Oh, there's some breaking news on CNBC. Let's see what that is. Probably nothing. Stock markets making no news, fake news. Okay, so let's zoom into the chart. Boom. And I'm not a chart astrologer, so forgive me. But here's what Lord Pretty Flacco presents. Take a second to assess the 3 instances I've notated below. The SMI comes off the top and then turns around midway. So he basically showed these 3 instances here. It's actually 4. But here's the SMI, and we see tops out and then turns around. And every time it does that, we see a big run up. I find the most interesting point of this chart the following. He says the current setup is specifically similar to 2 of the previous instances below, where an SMI went from overextended to the downside, then reached the top panel before pulling back midway, before proceeding back higher. You see that? Boom. So given April's near historically low SMI levels, we are now seeing the same scenario about to potentially play out. And I agree. So remember here, I zoom in. You zoom in, here's April. You saw April. Here's April. You saw how it's super negative, the red, right? And then boom, it turns around. Boom, and we had this run up. So basically what Flacco is saying here, and coincidentally at the uptrend support level and the AVWAP from 2025 lows, which is a very strong confluence of support. And what that basically means, if you see this uptrend, the lower end of this line, and I thought about this a little bit more from a fundamental perspective. I always told everyone Tesla is a dramatically stronger and better company than it was in December 2025, but also in December or mid of 2025, right? And what you see these lows here and how they are clearly a strong uptrend on the higher lows. When you remember that was completely nuts. It was 130 here in 2024 in April. Then we saw this, here's the election, of course, and then you saw this drop for the Liberation Day, but Tesla is marching higher. And I think my interpretation of these higher lows is that is where the market truly tests what kind of the most conservative perspective on Tesla, the company, actually looks like. Like at what point does the market basically reach consensus that it's ridiculously oversold? There is a fundamental component to this, in my opinion, especially to these bottoms. And what you see is, if you look at the bottoms, the market is kind of recognizing, okay, Tesla makes tremendous progress. FSD basically completed, Cybercab now scaling, the business turning around, Europe sales 100% year-over-year growth, Semi being launched, energy through the roof. So what do you even want, right? And so when you look at this, you look at that, you see that line, and that's never a guarantee. Who the hell knows? But this is it's never a guarantee. But you see it's bouncing off that line, and it also bounced off right now, in April and May. It bounced off here at this 350 sell-off where I made a total killing up here, but then I was overly optimistic on June, to be totally frank, and got a little killed here. But here I predicted that run up because I said this is ridiculous. Now, I'm saying where we are now is also completely ridiculous. The big question is, do we have to drop back to 350 or is it now 370? Is 370 the new 350? And according to this chart and what Flacco says, well, we might actually get pulled up a little bit along that support line, and so that would be the bottom now. I don't know if we hit 370 today, but you see that it doesn't really want to go lower today. I don't want to jinx anything. I jinxed it before. The bottom line is I'm getting very bullish. And I was bullish, so you're going to blame me like, Joe, you were stupid, you're wrong. But don't forget, with stocks, as long as the market is not totally crashing, stocks cannot just randomly fall endlessly when everything is looking good. Okay, stocks can go with the market and they can crash a little bit. If the market crashes, the market can get hysterical and just sell off and then we are all dead short term. That can all happen. But if the market is stable, and the market is stable, a stock cannot endlessly crash when there is no bad news. A stock can also not endlessly crash when there's only good news all over the place, which is the case for Tesla. A stock can definitely drop 10% randomly, but the more it randomly drops against good news, the exponentially less likely it is to drop even more. I hate to say it, and a lot of technical analysts will say, oh, Joe, you're wrong. Momentum, once it drops, it drops. That's not how it works. When you really look what's going on, Tesla drops a lot when the market drops. And when there's panic, there is no limit. It can drop to 1, right? Not really, but you know what I mean. 230 to 230. If the market panics outside Tesla, it could drop a lot if there's actual news around Tesla, but there's zero news. So what we are seeing here, in my opinion, are technical weird movements that have something to do with liquidity and with SpaceX, a little market distortion, plus general exhaustion from this not scaling of Cybercab and robotaxi. So we are bleeding down a little bit, but that bleeding also cannot go on endlessly because we know the relative positions of this stock. We know that if it's in a good mood, it reached 490 in December of last year when all of these things were not true. There was no semi, there was no Cybercab scaling, there was no crazy SpaceX merger situation going on. So I do think, and look at this here, for example, that was when the market was sliding down with Iran war and all these things, we hit 350. Okay, don't forget that. And so now all that stuff is over and we are still sliding down while at the same time we are seeing this kind of stuff. And I understand emotionally there's a lot of pain here. There's a lot of exhaustion among all of us. And believe me, I have some pain here, but we need to stay rational. Like this stuff cannot go on endlessly. Tesla can't just keep dropping. It can, of course, drop a little bit more, but it creates exponentially more resistance. And so I was actually starting to do something that I normally never do, and don't copy me. I still use my short puts. Of course, I got a little slaughtered, but I'm still keeping it. I'm rolling them down. I have 375, 380, and even one 390 position for short puts weekly. But I started to actually go into short-term calls. Here is, I said it, but be very cautious, okay? In the money or at the money, 380 calls expiring August. This August, so it's not leaps. They're very cheap. They're very cheap. They cost you $26 right now, $25. So all we need is to get back to 405. So it's basically a bet that I'm making, if you want to think about it like that Tesla will be at 405 by end of August or higher. Now, maybe you say, Joe, this is ridiculous. It could be at 500. Yeah, exactly. So you have to be very conservative with these things and say, okay, worst case scenario, what are the odds we are under 405 in August and don't get back up before? And I would say the odds are very slim. That's why I started putting on this position. But you have to be very cautious with these things. There are two traps with calls. Normally, I never do calls. Well, I do sometimes calls. I did at 240, I did it. But these were leaps. These short-term calls I'm only doing if I see a real opportunity from a probabilistic perspective. And when I do the math, what are the odds we are not going over, let's see, 390 or 400 before, or by end of August over 405? That would be really bad news and extremely surprising, because it would mean we have literally no news of any sort. There is no movement in Cybercab, no movement in Optimus. There's not a great earnings. There's literally nothing going on until end of August. I think that's incredibly unlikely. And if you ask me, is it more likely that we don't go back above 400 by end of August, or is it more likely we are going over 500? I would say it's vastly more likely we go over 500. I'm not saying it's likely, but it's vastly more likely than we are not going over 400. So that's how I think right now about this whole situation. So let's see how this all pans out. And let's see what you guys think. This is a Tesla-focused stream. Let's go into the questions. One last look at SpaceX, maybe. SpaceX, as I predicted, SpaceX is just extremely hard to get up from here. I think this will hover around here. There will be some more buying pressure coming in. Maybe we see a little peak back to 170, 180, maybe. But good luck starting in August with that selling pressure coming in. I do not see how this thing does not fall below 135, probably below 100. And we are working on some very cool research on SpaceX. I think it's super hot, but I think it has just no chance of staying here. Let's see how it goes. So back to Tesla. Tesla today having another terrible day. What does the chat say? I already see Uber and Lyft. I just saw this. Yeah, Uber and Lyft. I do not understand how people can buy Uber and Lyft. I think Uber and Lyft are so dead in the, like basically you're basically playing Russian roulette with 7 bullets in the chamber, and you're betting on the guy who's playing the roulette. It's like, dude, you just need Tesla to do what everyone literally expects Tesla to do this year, and Uber is just so dead. I can't even put it into words. I do not understand how people cannot see that. Akonda says, hi. Let's go back to the beautiful pictures here. Let's go back to this. What else do we have here? I mean, this is just reality. Like, there is something called reality. What do you guys think this is all about? Like, they're just doing this for fun. This is completely nuts, in my opinion, what's going on here. Sean says, good morning, Joe. Good morning, Sean. SpaceX sucked all the oxygen out of the market when closed AI and Anthropic IPO. That will be another huge rug pull. Maybe, but not as big as SpaceX. SpaceX was really bad for us, I think. Much more bad than I thought. Tom Lee will be right. Markets are testing the new Fed governor. I don't know. Yeah, he always says that. Tom Lee says they're testing the Fed governor, but let's see. If you're an investor and not a trader, you do nothing. That is correct, other than DCAing at this point. This did work out well for me. Endo, well, we don't know yet, but yeah. I mean, this is 1,000,000% a giant screaming buy, but not on margin. Be cautious. Time to use leverage. I am using leverage at this point. Ivan says, oh, because this video, yeah. I muted the music. Hi from Holland. Back to Holland. Hello. Sorry for the noise. I got more leverage to use as a bigger dip would be nice. Endo, oh, please no more dip. I'm done with the dipping. Tesla fire flash sale. Exactly. Buy. I think second quarter earnings will be very positive. Yes. I bought in 2020. Had I bought 6 months earlier? Yeah, but I think we are getting exactly to this point. I think 2026 could be like 2020, or early 2027 could be like 2020. Was the music that long? I tuned it. I turned down the volume pretty quickly. The sweetest thing ever. Imagine when it's raining. Yes, exactly. I can smell the money coming our way. Yeah, I can smell it, but I can't see it. Price target is $75 for SpaceX, says Oren Davies. Yeah, I mean, 75 would be twice the revenue multiple of Tesla. So yeah, I think 75 is a reasonable price target. But as I said, I will not wait until it drops to a very specific price. I am gonna wait for momentum and chart actually on SpaceX, because I don't know what the market actually thinks. I think SpaceX is totally undervalued. I just think from a market conservative conventional perspective, it's extremely overvalued. It is undervalued fundamentally, but no one understands this stuff. So I know the market doesn't get it, and the market will look at comparables. Palantir, Tesla, Anthropic, and OpenAI, and all of them are valued massively lower than SpaceX. So I think 75 is a reasonable entry point. But if we go through all the selling pressure that will end to increase by November this year, and let's say we had 150 to take an extreme case, I think that's nearly impossible, but let's say we had 120 in November, and the chart has flattened out and bottomed out, I'm starting to accumulate. Now, do I think it's much more likely to be at 75 or 80? Yes, but what I'm saying is I'm not waiting for a specific number, because you can never tell the market what the number is. You don't know. You can watch the chart and you can understand the selling pressure coming in. He talks so much about SpaceX. Should we switch on SpaceX here? We have been through this so many times. Then Tesla will pop 20 per day, 4 days in a row. Exactly. The question is how much more does it fall? But I think it's just so hard to see this falls more. But there is no doubt we will have a run up very soon to some crazy amount. Well, of course, there's always doubt. You can never be absolutely sure. Orange Man says 9 to Germans making money on American stock. Why is it? It's not Orange Man's fault, in my opinion. Am I buying? Yes. I bought Tesla, was supposed to be 500. I thought Tesla is 500 plus by now. I didn't say 500 plus by now. I said 490 by end of June. Let's see. Unlikely, but possible. Everything's possible. Let's go back to Tesla. Whenever I'm down on my trading positions, I always make dollars by doubling down on my losers. Go on. I don't know, XXV, that's dangerous advice, but when it comes to Tesla, yeah, I think I made my point. This is how it looks like. Alpha maxing, baby, exactly. You just have to make sure when you double down, go crazy, you don't put yourself in a position where you can squeeze out. As long as you can survive, nothing can go wrong, in my opinion. Things go wrong when Tesla drops to 300, you get squeezed out, you cannot double down, and then it goes to 500, but you are not participating. Then you're dead. That's the problem with margin and all kinds of stuff. So that's why I'm always stressed. Reality is different for people. Herbert is already living the Cybercabs for a whole year. I followed that for a while, but somewhere on the road, my reality started lagging his reality. His last video, he said that semi will soon be driving autonomous. Yeah, Herbert is sometimes a little too optimistic. I always had a little bit of debate with him because I always said, FSD, as long as I hear people saying FSD failed them, even in one situation only, I mean, that's too many situations. You need complete autonomy. I think now we are getting very close, but we are still not there. But I also think you can compensate for that to some extent in a geo-fenced area. So I do think, to be totally frank, that FSD will not be ready until probably end of the year or Q1 for complete autonomy, maybe even another year for complete autonomy. The reason why I'm bullish is that you can start the rollout. You can have 10,000 Cybercabs, driving around in geo-fenced areas, even if FSD is not perfect, as long as it's perfect enough, right? So I think between now and in 1 year or wherever, probably in a year, it might be perfect enough to have true scale. But then I'm talking about hundreds of thousands. I think in between, there will be this transition period. And I think we have entered this period. Where you can have remote operators, you can have remote monitoring, you can have some default safety tricks, and you can have geofence, and then you can start deploying these things. And I think, you can Waymo your way out a little bit. Only the Tesla will be more effective than Waymo. And I think that period has started. And by the way, that's different between me and Herbert. Herbert is just completely bullish on FSD because he uses it. I'm a little bit more critical. I see the people complaining about it. I take this very seriously. The reason I am so bullish is not that I'm seeing FSD and I have complete conviction this thing works. The reason I'm bullish is because I know Tesla is smart. I know Tesla is not just Elon talking out of his butt. I know Tesla is a very competent company. They have the best finance department in the entire industry. They have the best manufacturing department. They have the best operational department. All of these departments are greenlighting mass production and scaling of Cybercab. And my main argument is you cannot scale these Cybercabs if you are sane and efficient and do not see a clear line of sight to the goal of deploying them. That used to be my argument for April, May. That continues to be my argument. And even though I was wrong on April, May, and I might be wrong on June, I'm not wrong on Cybercab scaling. And as long as that is the case, it's hard for me to see how this doesn't lead to an inflection point soon. Providing price targets is just another form of trying to time the market. Yeah, but you can time the market. That's what people don't understand. Just the fact that most people cannot time the market doesn't mean that some people can't time the market. I time the market sufficiently effectively. Of course, I'm often wrong, but I'm more right than wrong, which is all you need. I mean, it's not all you need, but XXFay says, this is exactly what I want to see from the person I entrusted my life savings. Double down on losing positions. Exactly. FSD is really not ready. I use it. It will take time to get beyond limited geofence rollouts. Worst case V15. Yeah, but if you... Here's my point. I agree, 2009, Raymond. But if you have limited geofence rollouts, you could absorb multiple thousands of cybercabs already. And so version 15, end of the year, if that's the point where it's becoming truly ungeofenced, you can still deploy thousands of cybercabs before in limited geofenced rollouts. That's my point. Today hasn't been that bad for Tesla, only down $2. Well, $2.50, we are not done. Yeah, it's a great day, by the way. We are only down $2. I can't believe it. I'm just DCAing like usual, financial freedom. Well, you can't go wrong with that. I haven't driven my Cybertruck in months. It drives from my garage to the destination parks. Yeah, I like a lot of people like FSD a lot. The only near-term hope we have is if you use 4th of July, the beginning stage of Cybercab rollout. Well, I could just also use the end of the month. Like next week, we have potential catalysts because they said turn the music off. The music should be off, right? Why are people still saying music? I haven't experienced the latest FSD myself. But here, like you listen to all the people on the chat. There are so many people saying this is not ready. I have problems. So I don't know. Maybe they don't have 14.3.4. But it's still, there are still little issues. Here, if no rollout by the first week of July, puts and down we go low 300s. I don't know. I don't think the market is reacting to that a lot. I don't think the market, like this thing dropped already a lot. We are down 110 from the all-time highs. I do not think the market believes, I don't think the market is pricing in a rollout in July. Not at all. So it can't, if it doesn't price it in, it can't drop. If it doesn't happen. Isn't this most likely noise and fear? Shouldn't we be believing and realizing that their life-changing technologies right up on the cusp of Tesla? Exactly, Chris Guidi. Chris Guidi is 100% right. This is all stupid noise, and I believe it has to do with some cash rebalancing SpaceX BS, because these moves are completely inorganic and have definitely nothing to do with Tesla. Like, look at this, like this rug pull move on absolutely no news. Ridiculous. Same, by the way, on the bull side, when it went up on Monday, this makes no sense, which means there is some external influence. Andy says, I like your ratchet theory. Doesn't it seem so it would be in Elon's interest for Tesla to be lower for a lower buyer premium? There's a lot of debate on this, and I'm not a fan of this theory. When you understand how complicated companies like SpaceX and Tesla are to manage, it's not that it's a little startup, Elon's sitting there, it's like, oh, let's postpone the rollout a little bit. That's not how it works. These are giant juggernauts with hundreds of thousands of people. You can't just tell them hold back a little bit. So I think, first of all, it would be hyper illegal. And second, it would be morally wrong. And third, it's also not really possible. Because if there's even a hint of something like this and it leaks, you're so dead in the water, I can't even put it into words. And also, you can't even put it back on. I think for Elon, it's more like, get it done as quickly as possible. And that's all you can do. My ratchet theory, by the way, some people say merger of equals. You know that Tesla Boomer Mama says this. It all makes no sense. I can go into this in a separate video. But in a normal merger of equals, where you just do a one-on-one stock exchange, share exchange, you also have provisions in there that the deal blows up. The deal becomes invalid if either stock moves more than 20%. That's a very common clause in this. 20%, are you kidding me? That's like $30 on SpaceX. That thing moves $30 every day. On Tesla, 20%, are you kidding me? Like 20% from here, $60 or $70. Are you kidding me? $70. That thing has moved $70 like in the last month. So yeah, a merger of equals doesn't work with super volatile stocks like that. Doesn't work. Here, Robotaxi says life-changing tech, but no one knows about it. I disagree a little bit. That's not a strong argument, Robotaxi. Your name is Robotaxi. Your dad was a Robotaxi. How can you say that? But, you know, it's life-changing tech. No one knows about it unless they roll it out. Then everyone will know about it. This is extremely... Ooh. I just found something out. Amazing. I can click on these things. And then you guys see it. That's so amazing. Here, Woolrich is the next. I will test it. Wow, I found out the ultimate feature for us. Do you guys like this? Now I can make you famous. Here, James Marinelli. Now I will use this feature all the time. James says, Joe, I think you're right. Inflection is coming imminently. Tesla company would not be manufacturing these cars if it's not going to happen. I think James is absolutely right. Andy says, the lower Tesla share price is, the more likely shareholders may vote for a lower premium. But I agree with that, but I do not agree that there's manipulation going on. Manipulation would be technically too complicated, operationally too complicated, and highly illegal. Jimmy Fremmel asked the $1 trillion question, when does Tesla reach $1,500 per share? I explained it to everyone. Once Cybercab starts scaling in earnest, 10,000 plus, I think when it reaches even 1,000 or 2,000, and it's a steep scaling curve or trajectory month over month, I think Tesla can run up extremely fast to 1,000 per share. That is what I believe. 1,500 is a little bit pushing it. I don't know. Not in this run up, but I think, can we reach $1,000 per share this year if we have a rollout? 100% can we reach it. I'm not saying we will, but we can. Music is off. Thank you. Finally. Elon needs our vote for a merger. Here. Max, the exec, says Elon needs our vote for a merger. They need to offer something juicy like 800 to 1,000, right? I don't think that much. You can think about, you know, what would you do yourself? I think if I would get an offer to merge into SpaceX, by the way, not the worst deal, we get a ratchet provision, at least 1-to-1 merger, and we get paid, let's say 750, I would absolutely vote yes. If they offer us 500, I would get very skeptical. So Tesla is an amazing company. They are a majority Chinese company for cars and BIS and can only do robots with Shanghai. I feel they are bound to China the same way as Apple. Two-edged sword. Good point from Mark. But we have to also consider that who's not a Chinese company other than MU, Micron. Like, everyone is a Chinese company when it comes to this kind of stuff. Here, R. Wald says all-time highs by September. Could be any time. Could be in August. Could be in July. Anyone uses Claude Fable when it was available for 2 days? Yes, I was extremely unimpressed, but I'm not using it for coding. I use it for writing. It totally sucks. So I don't know what all the hype is all about. I think Claude Fable... Here's what I observe with Anthropic. I think Anthropic is amazing in actually creating applications that work. Specified or specialized applications. For example, Claude Design is mind-boggling. Claude Design is just mind-boggling. But why? Because it's specialized. And I think what they did with Claude Fable was that they created a super good coding tool. And I think Claude Fable, I think Anthropic is actually not that much of a deep tech company. I think OpenAI and, of course, Google, and I also think SpaceX AI are much more frontier than Anthropic. I think Anthropic are smart little hackers. I think they're doing what I could do in my basement, to be totally honest. They are just scaffolding and harnessing the hell out of the model. I don't think they're making great... They just hacked... They just figured out that the current state of AI is such that you get an atomistic intelligence that is fundamentally dumb, but has the atom of intelligence in their LLMs. And to make it smart, you need to build massive amounts of harnesses around it. And that makes you happy. And they are the masters of doing that. And that means it's not that smart, but it can be deployed into specialized segments. And they did that very well with Claude Design. That blows my mind. And Claude Fable, I think, did the same thing with cybersecurity, maybe with coding, but I'm not totally sure. So I'm not that impressed. It's definitely good for hacking, I heard. I don't know how to hack. I'm not doing it. Don't do anything wrong. Just getting on, I picked up 7 more shares at 180 yesterday. Ryan, what do you mean? 380, I think you mean. Over Hanseable, 10 to 20% above the current share price maximum. I would doubt that. No, you can. I saw mergers with 50% above, 40% above, very common. So I think we need at least 50% above. And that wouldn't cut it right now. It's a very interesting topic. I also, by the way, disagree with Alexandra, Tesla Boomer Mama, on the timing. She's totally convinced this happens in July or August. I don't think that's very likely. Given the scale of that merger, given the complications, given the legal problems involved here, I think it's very problematic because we just had an IPO and they cannot be in a situation where the SEC or whoever can say you knew about that merger at IPO because they would have had to disclose it. It's very important that the decision to merge was not taken before the IPO, because if that would have been the case, they would have had to disclose it. And if you offer a merger of that insane scale, the largest merger in the history of humanity, and you do it 2 months after IPO and then tell the SEC we had no idea that we would do that 2 months ago, they would not believe it. So I think, I'm not sure, of course, but I do think there is a very reasonable chance that this merger is not happening this year. And everyone is just hysterical. I have a very high conviction it will happen. But this year, I think people underestimate how insanely complicated and dangerous this merger is. Just on an operational level, I think it absolutely will happen. But everything about this merger would be much de-risked if it happened in 2027. And this is not something you do lightly. You don't want to mess this merger up. You need the yes vote from the Tesla shareholders. You need SEC to stand down. You need all kinds of things. So I don't know. And I think this midterms election thing is also stupid. Like, what does that change? Nothing. What does it actually operationally change? I don't think much. Okay. Joe, can you say it's priced in and why we have seen such a dump the last few weeks? Absolutely zero news coming. I know. That's what I mean. It feels a little unorganic. I'm not selling any until it reaches 1,200. That's good. Bitcoin MicroStrategy, they totally get murdered. More MicroStrategy than Bitcoin, by the way. Where's Bitcoin today? Is it over or under 60? It was over and then dropped like a stone when the market opened. That's very interesting. Bitcoin. United States dollar. It's right there at 60, 59,500. But MicroStrategy is totally getting murdered. I think MicroStrategy is a total buy. But I'm holding back still because the momentum is not on MicroStrategy's side right now. I don't even know what's going on there. Could whales like Ron Barron be dumping Tesla to buy SpaceX, betting that space will move higher? No. I do not think Ron Barron is buying any SpaceX right now. He's holding it, but it would be very dumb to buy SpaceX right now. There are no pending regulatory safety, any government certifications needed? No. For many states, actually not. Not all states. For some you need, for New York and California. I hope Tesla and SpaceX are never merged. I don't think the risk and finance in space. The risk to finance SpaceX projects. Well, it will be up for the vote. Now, the office Claude add-ins absolutely cook like crazy. Insane what they can do and create if you know what you're doing. Office Claude add-ins. Okay, I have to check that out. I jumped on Wendy's meme and made 25%. Yeah, just don't stay in that stuff. It's like GameStop. Currently under 100 robotaxis, but Elon gets examined under a microscope and bad press. Taking his time and getting almost perfect driving data is the best move. He can mass produce quick. Yes, but the fact that we are in mass production tells us something, in my opinion. Rums said, Joe, you always have great info. Let's share this. I love my whole new feature here. Enjoy the data first approach you take. If Cybercabs roll out, scales up stock, hits 1,000K. How does that affect the SpaceX acquisition? I think there's too much speculation on the SpaceX acquisition. I mean, it's a very good question. If he would actually go up like crazy, even to 600 or something, or 700, and SpaceX drops to 75, it makes it very complicated. I'm not saying it's not complicated. What happens if the midterm results are not in favor? That's a good question, but I think like what exactly is going to happen? The Dems would have to actually win the presidential election 2028 before they can actually get into all these administrations. They need to get in the SEC, the FTC, and all these things to actually become a problem. So I think the midterms are overrated. They can impeach Trump and stuff like that, but that doesn't affect anything Elon related. So I do not think the midterms are this big thing that they make it out to be for Tesla or SpaceX. Rocket Lab at 60. Well, if you look at Rocket Lab, I mean, I'm a big fan. I think Rocket Lab is super awesome. I do not like the price. Look at Rocket Lab valuations. It's just too high still. Like it's just, you have to look at revenue multiples, for example. You have to look at EBITDA multiples and then comp it, right? It's all about comparisons. I missed the beginning. So what do you think? Will Tesla stock recover? Yes or no? Yes, I think it will recover, but we can always drop more in the short term. I think there is a Cybercab function coming that forces this thing higher, and it can't take much longer, in my opinion. I mean, it can take another month or whatever. My poor SATA is tanking. What good is a 13% yield if the principal keeps dropping? That's true. I bought some MicroStrategy just minutes ago. Yeah, I mean, if Bitcoin holds up, which I think it will, but it's a little bit guesswork here. It's more based on technical analysis. Bitcoin is more tricky. If Bitcoin holds up, I mean, there's just no way MicroStrategy should be here. How many known sighted Cybercabs have been seen in parking lots? There must be a reflection point on numbers of built Cybercabs that Tesla will put them into the robotaxi fleet. Your stock was up. Yes, I agree. Just bought another 100 million. That sounds like a lot. So tomorrow is going to be a total collapse. Tomorrow will be a total collapse. I don't think so. If we had a collapse, it should be a NASDAQ collapse. Where are we? Are we looking at NASDAQ? Yes. So NASDAQ did pretty poorly, right? We're down 3.38%. I didn't even notice. Was it that bad? When was it so bad? Yeah, we had a bad day here. Yeah, there was also a NASDAQ drop when Tesla dropped so much, but Tesla dropped much more than its beta, 5.7, and NASDAQ dropped 2. NASDAQ is, when you look at NASDAQ, given that we are in an extreme AI rally, I always use this chart, by the way, and we are now, like, you see the same thing. We are in a super bull market, right? Because things are actually pretty good. And when you draw that line here, being you see that we overshot here. And now we are slightly under the trend line. The trend line should be boom, 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 boom here. I think we are slightly under. We should be probably at, but of course it doesn't work like this, 26,517 roughly. So we should be 200 points higher. So I think this is supported by a huge bull market, and we can go up more like that. And when you zoom out on a 5-year level, you see these are all very natural moves. That was just way too much. We shot up too high. Now we're going a little sideways. If you look at this, right here, we shot too high. This was too high based on the trend, and the trend reflects the greater margin and profit growth of America. And we're just totally in line. Then we dropped too much. Then we went up, and here's where we should be. And now we're dropping a little bit more. So we're going a little sideways. Look at this, 4% down. So I think this is very healthy. This is totally not a crash. This is a total breather that is extremely necessary and healthy, but is now slightly overdone. I think that's what we are looking at. Look at this. This is like what it does. Here it overshot, pulled back, continued. Now we have these little crises here, like the Liberation Day. Then we have here the Iran war. That is these things where you drop more than you should. Liberation Day, Iran war, but you see that it jumps back on the original trajectory very quickly. So I think if you want to do just very basic analysis, that greater trend reflects the AI bull market, the growth in corporate profits, of course, and the growth in CapEx and all that kind of stuff that is very fundamental. And that is the growth trajectory. And we're just doing totally normal stuff here. So that's very important to understand. And I think now we pulled back a little bit too much and should probably get back here and then slowly grind higher. As long as this is all the case, there is just no reason to be too concerned, in my opinion. Here, maybe I'm too bullish, but I loaded up on June 227 calls. Yeah, that should be fine, in my opinion. Depends on what strike price, of course. Tesla is a bad investment thus far. Semi and storage companies are such better options. Well, the problem is, in hindsight, everything is easy. The problem is, what is a good investment going forward? I think we are in a total bull market. Robotaxi asks, are we bull or bear market or neutral? We are in a total bull market. But Tesla, of course, requires Cybercab. It goes up. So many comments. I have to wrap it up. Robotaxi, according to Peter DiCarlo's system, Tesla is not currently in a clear bull cycle, hence he's not trading Tesla. Yes, I saw this too. But Peter is also, his system is lagging, and he always makes this clear. His system is lagging, and he's a momentum trader a little bit, so he waits until we are on a bull run, and then he jumps on top of it, which is fine. That can be a winning strategy, but of course we try to predict that before it's happening, and we are a little bit more fundamental here, which is very important. When the lefties won in November, Elon goes to jail. I don't think so, because I disagree, because no, you will not you will not have tax on unrealized capital gains. This is not the Netherlands. And you can't send Elon to jail unless you have the presidency too. You need to corrupt the Department of Justice, so-called justice, and then you can put him in jail. So that can happen in 2028, but not before. Civil war between left and right, still possible. How is that for 250th anniversary? I don't think this is going to happen in this legislative period, or in this presidential period. But I'm a little concerned for 2028. We are not there yet. It's a long way to go. Volume is so low today. Yes, Tesla is definitely like a little bit dead man in the water. Here could be, at least we believe in arming ourselves. Purple hairs have no weapons. Well, John Jay, I'm not so sure. They have more and more weapons. They got the message too. They just can't use them. That's the advantage. The word from Antifa, far left educators and people giving talks, there's plans for widespread disruptions for 2028. At least that's when Catherine Borisenko was saying several months ago. Who's that? I don't even know. Well, I think it's too early to predict anything for 2028, but you know, the risks are enormous. The risks are enormous because AI at that point, I think, will have massive impacts on the job market and then many problems. Why would anyone want to buy Tesla stock now? The merger isn't good for us and the vulnerability of it will make people stand back. I totally disagree. I think the merger will clearly add significant premium to Tesla. Also, Tesla is totally oversold. I think Tesla is a much better bet right now than SpaceX. Okay, Sean XT, I hear you, but they can destroy it all and we will start in November. It's over. I don't think, John J. I don't know what they can do. I don't think they can do too much with only Congress. Okay, guys, I need to wrap it up. It was great to have you here. By the way, I'm preparing a video. I will do 2 political videos. Sometimes I have to be political. One is Citizen Vigilante. Did you hear about that movie? Crazy story. Crazy story. It is out now on X because the director made it available for free on X. It's banned in Germany. Not banned. I will explain this in my video what happened in Germany, but the Germans basically banned this movie. It's the most successful German movie of all time. It's in English. And after 2 weeks, the most successful, made over 80 million bucks or something. Somehow, I don't even understand how. It's about Citizen Vigilante, and I think it's explosive. An explosive movie, and now Elon has shared it. And it's basically visible everywhere except for Germany. And it's crazy. This is going to be a fun little video to cover this because some big things are happening. But that's just a side note. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and I see you tomorrow. Oh, Catherine Borisenko. I have to look up Street Gear Zeros. It sounds very interesting. Infiltrates Antifa. That's very dangerous. Interesting stuff. Okay, see you guys soon. See you tomorrow.